All right. What's up, everyone? So you know this man. This is my brother Will.
This guy
How you doing, sir?
doing great. What's happening?
Chilling. I don't know. It's been a couple weeks since we had our last chat, and I liked it, and I think we got a pretty good response on it. So let's run it
Right.
back, see what we can do again. What did we talk about last time? Do you remember?
We
You know,
talked about whether the woman who said that in order to date her, you needed to pay her bills or pay
Woo.
for a babysitter.
Okay. That's going to kind of feed in, I guess, to what my thinking was today was when when did the well, I guess what are the side effects of the red pill?
You know what? A lot of people don't even realize what red pill is. You want to give a little kickback as to how that started? Do you know where the logic kind of came from?
No, give it to me.
The Matrix. So
Okay,
when he
red pill,
offered him
blue
the
pill.
red pill or the blue pill, the red pill basically means you're woke to new experiences and you're basically your mind is open to like an epiphany or something. So that's kind of how this whole red pill
Okay.
adoption came about. So I just wanted to clarify that because a lot of people may not really even know it.
So did has this had I guess like what have the side effects been? Has it been like a better benefit for men or a larger detriment to women? Because there's kind of like a wake up for a lot of guys, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think what it is, I think, thanks to people like Kevin Samuels who was willing to not only bring information out, but he had to bring it in a way that it grabbed attention. And once that
Right.
attention is brought, then you started to understand how the manifestation comes about that other men are going through the same thing
Absolutely. Yeah. And
and where it started. Because if you realize, remember, Kevin Samuels first started off talking to men about their hygiene, how to step up their game,
yep.
what clothes to wear, and things like that. And then a woman jumped on his podcast talking noise and he embarrassed her. And then at that point, he's like, see, this is what's going on with women today. You can't just talk to men like this. Look at you. Who do you think you are to talk to me like that? And I'm a professional. And that's where all of that stuff came about. So with that, the next thing you know, his audience grew because more women are listening. Like, why are you talking to a woman like that? And most guys are basically saying, look, we don't like women who talk to us like that either.
Right.
And it was just a social norm for so long.
Yeah. I mean, when you go back to like Oprah, Sally Jesse Raphael, all of these talk shows, these morning shows and things like that were definitely built around being able to kind of talk down men.
Right.
And I've made the case even for years. When you look at advertisements, men are an extra child. They're usually paunchy, unshaven, and
Right.
childlike. And the
Right.
mother is put together and like the one holding everything together. Now, that's advertising and that's who it's geared towards because, they're the shoppers, I guess, historically.
Right.
But at what cost? And so I think there's been a wake up in the last not even 5 years, because I think we found Kevin probably about 5 years ago. But
Right.
so he was around before that. So maybe in the last like 10 years, there's been, I think, a real shift. And then you have not just Kevin, but I think here's where the side effect kicks in. Then you have people who really got hyper about it, kind of like a fresh and fit, where they're just screaming at women, and it
Right.
didn't have the same level of the didn't have the same level of understanding what Kevin was trying to get to. YM asked who's the bottom.
Bottom of
So
what?
yeah, see, this is what we're talking about. This thank you. It proves the point that you can't have a discussion as men without somebody coming in. And congratulations on using homosexuality as your weapon.
Right.
So not only are you admonishing people, but you're using another group to do it. It proves the point that this is where that red pill has had like an effect on a lot of people.
Yeah. And what it does, it also allows the internet. This is the other side of me that people don't know is about to come out right now because this also allows the internet to allow people just like that to feel brave behind the screen, because I guarantee you there's not one person that would say it face to face. Guarantee you.
No,
So anyway, so yeah, but like we were saying, I digress. But yeah, so we were blessed to have Kevin Samuels around for a while, and again, the problem that people face is he got his notoriety based on the worse he got, the more sales he got.
mm,
So when people weren't listening to the message, they started listening to the tone, and it definitely it affected YouTube. That's why stuff went viral.
right. You have entertainment, and it's no different than any other form of entertainment. It's had some levels of shock jock to it, because that's what people were taking clips of. Kevin
Right.
wasn't putting his own clips out there. People were taking clips to sensationalize, look how he's treating people. But I can pull up at least 5 videos where he went way harder on guys.
Right.
And
Exactly.
that,
Exactly.
and
And
that
that's
was,
he started off with, going off on guys, basically telling guys, like I said, to step it up. You didn't hear anybody complaining about how he's talking, because a lot of young men out there didn't have fathers. So to hear it from anybody was a blessing, even if you're hearing it from someone over a computer. But what I will like to say is you almost can't blame the women either. Women
right,
get a bad rap because of the way they're talking to men, for years prior to all of this stuff becoming red pill topic. But if you go back to the 60s and 70s, it goes way back then when the government was basically kicking
mm,
men out of the household to
correct,
give women money to raise the kids. You don't need a man. And so we'll pay for you and your kid as long as there's no man in the house. So
right,
with that mentality for years, that created the welfare system, which then allowed women their independence at the same time, which then allowed them to feel that they didn't need men. And that's what the ultimate message Kevin Samuel said. Doesn't matter how about, yeah, he talked about your market value and things like that. But deep down, his message was women need men need women. We need to figure out a way to host relationships with one another so that we can survive. Man, it is expensive right now in this economy trying to live by yourself,
yeah,
and so a lot of people commit suicide because they're by themselves. These are the things that people need to focus on, not just the tone of a message.
right. And to that point, like, the rate for men is higher, and it's
Correct.
because there's not this widespread caring. Nobody's coming to save guys when it comes to that.
Right.
And when you see, I think the attempted rate is higher for women, but the success rate is higher for guys. Either way, it's sad. And to your point, Kevin definitely spoke to what was best for families.
Right.
But a lot of people didn't get that far into these casts, or they would see 30 seconds, 2 minutes of clips on TikTok and decide from that. So it goes to show, like, people don't bother to, like, they'll read the headlines and then respond to the whole article, but you haven't read everything about it. You didn't figure it out,
Sure.
what the actual message was. So again, when you don't have things like that, what does a red pill do for guys? And I'm not talking about extremism. It's like finding Allah or Christ, and some people, like, they're bombing buildings in the name of it. We're not talking about the extremes on the outside, but what for the average guy has the red pill done?
It did what it's supposed to do. It woke people up, and what it did, it makes men want to step up. It makes men want to elevate their game, because in the midst of discussing high value men, it made you aspire to be one,
Right.
because you know that it's rare. So it makes you now want to dress sharper. It makes you want to go out there and get that better job. It makes you want to make sure your house is tight at all times, things of that nature. So I'm just one, I always try to look at the positive in things. And I just hate that people focus on such negativity when it comes to the opportunity to learn something to better yourselves.
Correct. I had a few conversations with young women who, kind of getting going and stuff like that. And, they just hated, like, this facet about him. But the part
Right.
that I always imparted was, the things that I even learned. as an adult male were poignant, because we can all learn something new about our worth,
Right.
at any stage in life. And I think you're supposed to, because as we lost our physical abilities, we had to figure out that we were more cerebral than just
Right.
running fast and jumping high. And
Sure.
then as you get even older, you have to figure out that your worth lies in this area. Now we're in legacy years, which is why we get to have these talks and impart
Right.
something to people. So you're constantly in a state of finding new value and
Yeah.
adding to that, but it doesn't have to be financial. Um, but statistics, specifically in the community for men, were important things that I picked up,
Right.
and to understand what part we play, and that it's something as simple as the stereotype of black fathers, and
Right.
then to
So you
realize.
so so not to interrupt, but take that into a street mentality, right? You have
Mhm,
young kids who have no fathers, so what do? They join the gang. Why? Because there's commonality in joining a gang. You have support. You have someone steering you in the direction. Now, at that time, you don't care. That's not even the right direction, so long as you're getting it. That's what
correct.
this era provides. It provides a safe mechanism for discussion so that maybe the people online, you may not hit all of them, but man, if you could hit one or two, and that's what motivates them to do better, helps them to have better relationships. Because at the same time, it's not just about learning how a woman's supposed to talk to a man. It goes both ways, and
Facts,
you
facts.
have you have to learn to take the street mentality out of professionalism. You have to take the street mentality out of domestication, because that's what's going to get you in trouble.
Speaking of,
And
oh, go ahead, keep going, keep going.
no, 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 that was it. That's all I was gonna say.
Okay. Kind of piggybacking on that, code talking. What are your thoughts with that?
Which part? Like, give me an example.
Well, we generally hear it again in our community where people are like, "Oh, you got to talk this way in front of the man. You got to talk this way in front of your people." But doesn't everybody on some level, like if you got one group of friends or another group of friends, like it's always a code switch to because you're speaking the language of the people you're in front of.
I mean, again, it's a product of your environment, and what a luxury to have that ability. So when I would date people, I would tell them, young ladies, like, you can take me to, hey, son, shout
Yeah,
out from
what's
a
up?
boy.
What's up, nephew?
Yeah, Fort Knox TV, go check it.
Yes,
But yeah, I would definitely say that I'm the person who you can take me to the ghetto, I'll blend. You can take me to the country club, I'm gonna blend. You can take me to your Christmas party, I'm gonna blend.
right,
It's a
right,
talent that most people don't have. I can speak hood, I can speak eloquent, I can speak professional. You have to have that ability to be able to switch. So you have to be able to code switch, man. You can't take any one thing and run with it forever.
right, right. Yeah, I was looking at that and I was like, nah, that I mean, everybody does on some level. You have one friend, you have another friend, and you
Right.
have different personal jokes with each one of them. It's a form of code switching. I always looked at it as like I don't see it as a bad thing. I just see it as something that I think we all naturally do. You adapt to
Yeah.
whatever circumstance you're in.
Yeah, and adaptability is necessary in anything. You can't go to a job and not adapt. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So if you go to your boss talking to him like you're talking to somebody on the street, you're going to get dealt with. You go on the street and you talk to somebody on the street like you're talking to your boss, you're going to
Yeah.
get dealt with. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
you have to be able to adapt, man. And we got to be able to teach youngsters how to do that. For instance, my son, he did not understand certain things when I was trying to explain to him how you carry yourself. Other people will judge you. You don't have to say a word. They're just going to instantly look at you and think they know everything about you. Your hair's all twisted up. You got tattoos. You got this. You got that. Exactly. But they don't know the person inside. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so now he's at the age to where he can kick back and watch other people to understand, what I'm saying and the things that are meant for him to go through. Because in reality, until somebody's your age, until someone is my age, they don't know. they just really don't understand the importance of other people's subjectivity when it comes to the outer appearance.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
he's a supervisor, he's a manager. And so when he sees young adults come in, now he's the one,
Yep.
doing the side eye. But, and that's, as a grandfather, man, that's all I can do is try to pass information on to my kids, my grandkids, and hope it sticks.
Legacy years for real. And the thing is with every generation, we had a different go at it. I think,
Oh,
you know, those things were a lot more overt in your face. And now it's probably still exists, but I think there's a lot more acceptance for just what you see in front of you, like tattoos, piercings, things like that, even in professional settings. But now it kind of goes all the way back to Dr. King, content of character,
right,
over color of skin, over amount of tattoos or things like that. So we get into these pockets where again we have to figure out our value. And then when you have something like a red pill that can is designed to show you something completely different than you've been told your entire life, that and it's not
right,
just men downing women, it's men being able to speak to other men. We've always
right.
been knocked for not being able to express ourselves, share your feelings. Well, here it is, and I think that that's a positive effect of the red pill.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's necessary, because it takes a village to raise a child.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, in our community, unless you're at grandmama's house, you don't get that village. When we grew up in Arizona, we didn't have a whole bunch of people around us. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? That look like us, act like us. But that's where we came up with the rebel on the cause. Remember
Hey, 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 hey.
that?
That
So
is
you
what
want to
yeah.
explain to people what the rebel on the cause is?
That's just I mean,
It's
you and
just a
I are
parent.
yeah, I mean, it's everything about our personalities, it's kind of like how we look. When you look at us, it's an odd match in a way. But cerebrally, we knew exactly what step the other one was on. So but you've always been way more straight laced than I am. I'm over here. I'm wiling out, doing things where you got to reel me in. So rebel and cause was the perfect name for that sort of thing.
Yeah, because the people look at you, you got the tats, you got the hair, you had the music, you had the acting. Whereas me, clean cut, no tats, more of a professional lead with my background and up in high tech stuff. So we're just different people, but in reality, like you said, we share the same brain,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's what this is all about, right? So somebody shouldn't listen to me more than they listen to you.
right,
you can
right.
you can wake up the youngsters just like I can wake up the same youngsters, right? So that's a perfect example of why red pill today means what it is, because who are you going to listen to? You got to listen to everybody to an extent. Of
Yeah,
course some people are going to throw negativity out there, but I toss that to the side.
yeah, yeah, for real. I was talking to a young guy at work, and he was, saying how his father, he didn't want to say that his father wasn't ish, but he wasn't ish. And he looks to guys, that are a little bit older to be able to speak to. And I said, this is exactly why. I said, take my number because if you have to, if you need to, if you want to, we should have had somebody, to be able to reach out. Uncle Lorenzo, rest in peace, was one of
Right.
those ones, but it was so far and few between for us coming up as young
Yeah,
men.
because
We
he would
didn't
come
have that.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, come in and out of town ever so often. So yeah, again, um, definitely true. And I think what I would like more young men to get across outside of, I'll put it like this. I have 5 rules, and, my children know the 5 rules are: number one, put God first. Number two, respect women. Number
Hmm.
three, always maintain your integrity. If you say you're going to do something, do it.
Yeah.
Number four, be someone other people can depend on. There's a lot of people out there who need help. Help
Hmm.
those people. And number five, always look a person in the eye when you're talking to them. Get your respect. Don't
Yeah.
cower to anyone. Get your respect. My kids know those are the 5 rules that they grew up with, right? So with that, we need we need those types of guidance pushes so that we can get into other discussions like taxes,
Mm.
401k. We can get into savings account. We can get into credit reports. Those are all the things that we don't talk about anymore, or ever really did growing up. The way we had it, you survived for the moment. You didn't
Right,
survive for the future.
right. Yeah, and credit, the way it kind of changed. I look at that kind of mid '80s Reaganomics trickle down, but prior to that, credit card was like the boogeyman. Like you
Right,
didn't speak it because if it came out, that meant you were going in further debt. Like paycheck to paycheck was one thing, but man, the credit card was not for dinners out. It was
right,
in case the car broke down. Something
right.
catastrophic had to happen for that credit card to come out.
And I tell you, man, what I tell people, a credit card tells a bank. So real quick, credit in a minute. Credit in a minute. Here we go.
Go in.
When you run up a credit card, that basically tells the bank you have no money. You have no money in the bank. That's all it tells a creditor or lenders, that you have no money in the bank, because most people, if you have money in the bank, you don't need a credit card. You're not going to use a credit card. So if you have a mediocre credit score, but yet your credit cards are maxed out, you're a risk. You're probably not going to pay us. So let's go ahead and charge you more interest up front, so that even if you don't pay us, at least we got more money back than we would have. Whereas if you have great credit, you only use no more than 30% of your credit cards. So you're trying to build your credit. I can see this. You're barely using it. Okay, we'll give you a lower interest rate because we want that opportunity for you to pay this off, because we know you're in high demand. It's all subjective. So
Mm,
if you can get the logic behind credit, if you can get the logic behind taxes, you'll understand life a lot more, and you'd be amazed at just having a little bit of clarity. It's not as stressful as it seems. You just have to be disciplined.
right. That is definitely one thing. Just my own testimony, and I always tell them, guys, this is not a flex. It's just the truth. And I'll share with them the 401k that I started at 21 or 22. And
Saved your life. Saved your
right,
life.
you know this firsthand.
Yes,
Yes, you
sir.
know this
Yes,
firsthand.
sir. Best
And that
move you
money,
ever made.
yep. And that money
Still
sat
living
there
off of
for,
it. Still living off of it.
yeah, right. And
Awesome, man.
it changed everything. I never wanted it to be anything but for my children, but because of the split that I went through and the things that I needed to do, one of them was to realize what credit was, because up until that point, we weren't educated on it. I know you
Right.
educated way before I did. I watched you get houses, cars, and things like that, but I was
But
doing something
in
way
reality,
different.
man, all of the reason that's a good point. But the reason is because I had my son first.
Right,
When
right.
you have children, they'll make you or break you. And you're gonna elevate to a different person if that's what's in you. When I first found out that Jordan was born, first day I found out his mom was pregnant, I went and worked at Taco Bell, and I had a full-fledged profession at the time.
Yeah.
I'm not too prideful. I need to put that money aside, because if we're not banking without him being in the world, when he gets there, Pampers, daycare, everything else, oh yeah, I had to hop to it.
That
You
first
know,
wave of things you pay for, once the
yes,
gifts wear off, once
yeah,
all the diapers and wipes that people buy you wears off, but you've always had that work ethic. I mean, in
right,
high school, it was Taco Bell, it was Burger King, like it was all of these spots that the rest of us just didn't,
right.
and that was one of those traits that even now, like, really have made you one of the most solid people going. So these talks are really valuable because it's coming from somebody who's not only talked it but walked it, and I mean walked it. You've walked it from here to Jerusalem and back.
But again, that's the cause, right? That's the cause talking. However, as you talk about your own story, like, you've had your own bumps and bruises, but you still came out on top just as much. Otherwise we both wouldn't be able to be on this platform.
That's
You
real.
know, having similar conversations. We've never been in jail, even though you look like a thug. You've never been in trouble. You've knocked it out the park when it comes to your children. Held down a job ever since I've known you, multiple jobs we both have. So
Yeah.
we just always did what it took to be a man. And so it's not about wealth. It's about desire, and I was
Agreed.
talking about that to my daughter who is pregnant right now. Her,
Congrats.
thank you. Her job is done, in a way. Her responsibility is just to be healthy enough to bring that baby into the world. The baby's father, he's got to make the decision. Am I all in? Am I halfway in or am I out? That's what's going to ultimately dictate what she goes through. Because my grandfather told me, when we were young, well, obviously, whether a woman takes a lick of the snake or not, you have to take care of her. I didn't
Hmm.
know what that meant, but in reality, talking in parables, it means no matter if she wants to work or not, she wants to go to school or not, if she wants to sit at home and do nothing, you
Yep.
got to take care of your family.
Yep. You created
And
it.
so that's what always was instilled in me as a kid. So when my son was born, I had to hop on it. I was in, it was in my mind that, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. If I have a child, I got to take care. If I get married, I got to take care of him. So I've never relied on a woman to provide any 50-50. There's none of that with me. It's just
Right.
not how.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If I got to
Um,
work 3 jobs, so be it.
and I think that's the core of Red Pill at its finest is the drive, the ethic, to get these things done. But people got caught up. And by the way, we love you too, Neff. Um, People got caught up in the high value branding, and
Sure. We talked
they,
about that a couple of years ago, how dangerous it was going to be in a
yeah,
few years if people didn't truly understand the concept.
yeah. And you called it. You called it
Yeah.
back then because the question was, what is the biggest misnomer about being a high value man? And you spoke to, you know, the packaging that it comes in, that everybody thinks that they can do that, or they talk it, and that takes the genuine efforts and accomplishments away from those who actually did it.
Yeah. Like Fort Knox said, it's a buzzword now, so people they don't
Yeah.
understand it. They just like saying it. And
Yeah.
that's honestly why I wanted to make sure we define what red pill was early on, because a lot of people say it, they don't really know how it came about or what it's truly meant to be. And that's part of the ignorance that we've got to stop, man. Just it takes a little bit of research. Get on any chat GPT. It'll tell you nowadays what you kind of need to know about anything. So there's no excuse for ignorance. But yeah, you're right. People get on these bandwagons, and the one thing that will not allow you to bandwagon is your bank account.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
You can
facts.
say whatever, you can regurgitate anything, you can pretend to be the best person in the world. Your bank account is going to reflect your laziness.
That's real.
You
This
have
is
to do some work.
it reminds me of when MMA started to take off and everybody's wearing tap out shirts, but
Right.
half of them could fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, go ahead, wear the shirt.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
watching guys with West Coast chopper shirts get into like a beat up Honda. You don't even have the hog to back up what brand you're trying to, put out there.
Right.
Uh,
And that's what we are talking about earlier, man. You got to be careful what you say to people behind these laptops and cell phones, because someone will test your gangster someday. So to your credit, some people hype themselves up, wear the shirt, act like they can, but you get touched in on chin, you're gonna
yeah,
fall like a dog.
yeah. And the ones who know, they know, and they're not the ones trying, because anybody can get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might, like, you see it in the UFC. The odds of like me knocking out Brock Lesnar are slim to none. But
Right.
on any given day, that's just the one thing that I think once you know it, again, being truly accomplished. Never mind high value or what's the other one? Alpha. When we people are using these words to like what Fort Knox is saying, they're buzzwords.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing about it, man, so like we were saying before with the high value thing, oh, 6 figures. And like I broke it down, yeah, a man can make 6 figures, but if he's $80,000 in debt,
Yeah,
is it
yeah,
really 6 figures?
right.
Why get hyped up on that? Why not go for the man making 70, $80,000 who doesn't have any debt because he's responsible enough to pay his bills. You might want to look at that one.
Right.
I have, when I drive to work, I have three vehicles. I drive the oldest one more than anything. And people, oh, you got three cars? I saw you drive the other. Yes. Why? Because when I pay something off, I keep it.
Right.
I don't need to drive my Corvette everywhere I go, man. Like it's no, you
That's
can't.
the yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for retirement. That's for when I'm done. I'm not trying to get myself further in debt, man. I love being debt free. Great feeling. If nobody's there, get yourself there.
That's an ultimate freedom, is like really like at no debt or very low, very little,
Yeah,
where it's
like so
manageable.
you're gonna have a bill, but debt is something completely different. Debt is when you're buried owing people. No, I don't
Yeah.
have that. You don't have that. And that's why I said rebel in the cause. No matter how we look, no matter how we're raised, no matter you're debt free. I'm debt free.
Yeah.
But we had different ways of getting there.
Strange, but I mean, it goes to show, and this is what I love about the dynamic, because it's like a Batman and Robin, if you will, because
Exactly. Alter
Batman,
ego. Yeah.
yeah, and but Robin was, I think he was like, wasn't he like an orphan? Dick Ward was like, it was like somebody he just took in. So you had
Right.
like completely differing personalities, but
Right.
they teamed up, and it worked well.
Had the right
And
mindset. He adopted his mindset.
right,
And that's the thing. You got to have friends that's going to tell you when you're messing up. You
that's your
know what I
best
mean?
friend. Yeah.
You got to have siblings who look after each other. You have to have someone willing to say, you know what, even though we fight, I love you enough to let it go.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they both can kick some butt. That's
Yeah,
right.
boy. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. To be able to tell people that, and hype them up in a way that nobody else can, because you and I can speak to each other in ways that if you were to speak to another guy like that, they'd be looking at you sideways, because it's like, what are you on? Are you zesty, or whatever people say now?
right,
And it's like, that's that stuff you got to put away, because the red pill was meant to be able to give us that power to be able to
right,
say to a man emphatically, I love you for who you
right.
are, and I see that, and there's nothing. I'm not going to do what that Yahoo earlier, trying to make
Bait,
hetero
on the bait.
homosexuality, the weapon of choice. Like, that's just a
Right.
ridiculous notion.
Yeah. I remember when we were bouncing in the days, man, and it was amazed at some of the clubs you can go into. You always could tell who the bad apple was going to be that night. And some people would come up and, you know, as soon as they walk in the club, hey, dap you up. Hey, man, what's going on? Cool. We're not going to have any problems tonight. Or, no, man, I'm good. You can already tell that
Yep.
overbearing, I'm your buddy, I'm your pal, I'm so cool, you're so cool. Same person is going to be the first one to get into it. So those are the people I would watch. And I would just simply have to tap them on the shoulder when stuff got rough. Hey, man, didn't you tell me you were going to chill tonight? That would diffuse things way better than someone coming in, tossing bodies, trying to throw the fight. Or, like you have to know how to handle stuff. At our size, it's not a problem, to toss somebody out of the way, but you have to have the peace within yourself to just diffuse the situation. Bruce Lee could have kicked more ass than Bruce Lee kicked,
Right. Right. But
because he had the
he's a
ability to
philosopher.
just, yeah, he had the ability to just minimize the anger and the frustration and taught purity.
Stoicism. That's the word that's everything you just tapped into, is stoicism. Yet
Right,
again, so if we slide away from someone like Kevin, even though I think he had a lot of stoicism, the packaging and what the public would not allow him to be was a stoic thinker. But then you
right,
have like a Jordan Peterson, who's very deep in thought, and it's the same kind of uplifting sort of thing. And
right,
there's a stoicism about that again, I mean, I think women can benefit from it as well, but I think it's important for men to, because we're in the midst of probably the most broken homes ever. So you're seeing more young men being raised in homes with women. Nothing wrong with that until you look at the notion that who's raising them to be men. You're raising
Right.
them to be adults. You can
Right.
get, you can get them to an adult status, but to actually impart things that we can't possibly impart until you just impart it to another male because they understand that walk. It's no different than women talking to women about childbirth or anything else that only women go through. That's cool.
Right.
But it makes it really hard to raise somebody that you're not going to be, it's not them.
Right.
It's going to be a different path, and society's going to look at you differently.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's also having absenteeism from fathers even in the house.
mhm.
There are fathers who they come home and they're hands off.
Yes,
That's detrimental to a young child, especially another young man, because he needs the balance. Because if mom is giving you all the love and dad's in the room watching games and drinking beer, whatever,
Nick Cannon.
yeah, great example. You know, he's going to have a lot of kids, but is he there for those kids? And there's the confusion that comes with it, especially if you got to listen to social media teach you how to be a certain way. Nick Cannon's kids are going to go through a lot,
Yeah.
and luckily
Yep.
he does have the money to support. So I'm hoping that he also has the ability to spend adequate time,
Right.
you
Right.
um, so yeah,
Yeah. There's a
it's
trapping to
got to
that.
be active. Yeah, you got to be active.
Unless unless you retire and your investments are going to carry you through life and to raise your kids, like to have what is it, 11 kids now?
Right.
You're he's still doing whiling out. Like you're shooting X amount of hours per day, and unless all of those children are in the same city, possibly the same house, which is not likely, then the money at some point doesn't matter. To your point, this is about raising children. This is about being interactive
Yeah.
with them at the end of your workday.
You have to, man. You got to coach your kids. You have to draw with your kids. You have to teach your kids how to swim. You have to teach your kids how to play. I mean, you have to. It's valuable. Let me ask you this. I've only ever talked to you on live. Are you able to send that link to Jordan so you can tap in?
I'm sure Jordan would know if I could. Um,
Now, if you want to tap in and give your inputs,
I'm trying to see if I can do that.
yeah, because I always like to hear what other people have to say about certain things because we already are locked in. Sometimes getting the outside influence and then get to work, boy. Nah, I hear you. I'm sure you're probably listening with your earbud in. So he says he's working, so don't worry about it. But that's what I'm talking about. Get that work.
Did I lose you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you
I
bet.
can't. I'm
The
working.
screen went black.
Is it black now?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know what I did. I was like, oh, please tell me I didn't cut this off.
Right. But no, so yeah, there's a lot of things, a lot of activities that you have to have with your kids. And, now it comes down to grandkids. You got to relearn it all over again. So,
Yeah. Well, and to spin the block, as the kids say, when you're talking about like the grandparent stuff and what your daughter's going through, well, niece and stuff like that, your niece is going through the same thing. And I was having the same conversation she's expecting, and it's what is this man going to do?
right,
And he's
right,
certainly free to not engage, but don't allow yourself to find yourself chasing after somebody who's opting not to, because once that life is here, you don't have the luxury of doing the things pre-parenting. Once that child is here, all that attention goes to that, and you'll figure this out really quickly. But yeah, if that's not what they're built for, that may just not be what they're built for at this time. Now they may grow to it later, but
right,
if that's not what they're built for, you can't drag somebody into it, nor should you want to. Don't
right.
keep something that doesn't want to be kept. And if a man is honestly interested in keeping and fighting for his position, he'll do that.
Right. And again, that's where high value kind of sticks in there, right? It has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with your will to succeed. Period.
Right.
That's all it is. A man with a will to succeed will hit six figures. Now
Right.
can he correct his height? No. But again, that's why that stuff doesn't get me. Which brings us on another topic, way sidebar. I don't understand what this logic is behind some of the shortest women who must have a man 6 foot tall. What is this? I mean, I don't get it. I don't
No, I
understand.
don't.
Is it a matter of feeling protected? Is it a matter of because you can have a buff ass dude less than oh shit, sorry. You can have a buff dude less than 6 foot tall that can take care of you, you know?
Um, I think it's people can call it what they want, but it's fetishizing. You have a fetish, just like guys will have a fetish for big asses. Guys will have a fetish for
Right.
the Asian women or whatever it is. It's a fetish. Tall is a fetish. If that's all you're fixated on,
Yeah,
part
because
of
it's all
it,
physical. Yeah.
yeah, part of it I will say is probably biological. You want the biggest something, but when you are disregarding other people who actually can provide for you just because they don't fit a certain metric in height, you're pushing almost against nature at that point because you
Yeah.
can be provided for. And until somebody shows you something different in the in resources, then that's not even hypergamous. It's just discriminatory in my estimation.
And why would you limit yourself from the bank, from the gate? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Fort Knox said they heard other women saying it and it became popular, kind of like buzzword thing, and
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
No. And this is a thing that is again in this last, and I think this is where red pill was born because enough guys were getting dismissed because they weren't tall enough or they weren't whatever enough. And this because prior to that, I don't recall this much discrimination just being outwardly just said, I'm not going to, talk to somebody who's just a height, something you can't even control when
Right.
a lot of these women, can control their weight. But
Fact.
I
And
digress.
and when he pointed it out, he got famous for saying so.
Right.
That's exactly what it was. Don't disrespect someone just because, and so yeah, a lot of women on there. I need a man 6'6", 6 foot
Mm,
tall, six pack abs, and 6 figure income. And
yeah,
why? If you have your own, why do you need him to have that?
because most of them don't,
Most of them don't. Exactly.
and and
Exactly.
that's and it goes back. I'm not quite at the six figure annually, but
Yeah, you are.
even
Like I
it,
said, economics with what you have. Yeah, yeah. Don't play yourself
it
short. But go
no,
ahead.
it's not that. It's then here's where I'm going with it is
Hmm.
that I was questioned for my ambition by
Because
somebody.
paperwork says that you didn't have six figures.
Right, right, and so
Oh, so you have no ambition because you're not making all that you can make. Cool. Go ahead.
correct, correct. So what I rolled out was, but I own my house and you're
Right.
renting, and I own my vehicles
And I'm
and you
giving
are
you a
upside
ride.
down. Yeah, and you are upside down in a car that you like
Right.
that's barely running. And
Yeah.
so, I didn't want to roll out this tail of the tape, but it was like I have to show you. And I have enough in savings and just in earnings to wipe out all your student loan debt that you're
Right.
not doing anything with, by the way. So
Right.
the value, to your point, it has a value, and assets and everything else included. Yes, that status has been achieved.
Right.
But for guys earning less than that, it's
Right.
still, if you because you pointed it out, the trappings of the high value man is people see the six figures, but if you are in debt to the degree that you're making actually 40, what good is it? Now at
Correct.
that point it's just a status. So a lot of people, yeah, they're holding something against you, but they're not realizing what they don't have. If you can't bring what you're asking for, don't ask.
Right. And
Don't
that's the
ask.
thing because it's amazing that women won't consider that as body shaming. You know, if a man criticizes a woman because of her weight or because of her hair, we get a lot of heat for that, right? Whereas if a woman says, "I can't date you because you're too short," that's the end of it. So you don't never she never gets the recourse. You know what I mean? She never gets the
Right.
slap on the hand, so to speak, because she won't give you the time of day, and it's over. And that's just, no, you can't be like that.
Well, even, the trying to, big up shorter guys, what do we come up with? Short kings. But even that sounds like a punchline.
Yeah,
There's
Napoleon
still nothing that,
complex.
yeah. And what are you going to do? Like, it just continues to like punch down on guys in different ways. And if it's not that, the first thing that comes out is you're, small in the pants or so, like it's something that it's always a cut to the ego. And I
Right.
think that that's the one place that I dare say, like, there's levels. Is it like a bit of jealousy because guys walk around pretty free as far as their comfort zone, because it just comes down to like I can either dominate the next person or they can dominate me. But other than
Right.
that, we get along more because the propensity of violence is always there if we don't.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. And like with the high value thing again, I can honestly say, making six figures, being 6 foot 6'1", it doesn't it on this side of the track, it does no good. It does I don't benefit from that. I can't say that, you know, the woman I'm with may have only been with me because I was told, like, she's never given that indication, but it's just hype. It's all hype. So the man that is 5'9", 5'10", 5'11" can't provide for you. It's ridiculous. I think
right.
women they need to stop that. Next topic. Let's see. There was something else I wanted to ask you about. Love languages.
Mm.
Let's talk about that.
All right.
And the
What do you got?
ridiculousness of love language, man. It's like a it's like a horoscope. They apply to everybody, you know?
Correct.
I
Correct.
mean, it's like saying you can meet a tall, dark, handsome strength. Who couldn't? You know?
Right.
And the thing is, I think it's another method that a lot of women use, not generalizing, but a lot of women use that as a method to basically just get what they want and have a reason to moan and groan if they don't. Because it's my love language. You're supposed to provide that need. That's why we're here. If my love language is touch, I need you to touch me all the time. Okay.
Right.
What I say to that is I call bull ish. Because here's the thing, right? What if your love language is touch, but we can't see each other? We can't be in the same proximity. Are you then going to justify you must get that touch from somebody else?
Right.
Number one.
Mm.
What if my love language is receiving gifts, but you can't afford to buy me gifts?
Right. Right.
Stop it.
Right.
Stop it. It's an end to a means, when you're doing stuff like that, and you just got to live in peace, live in happiness.
No, I
So
agree.
you
And
have anybody come at you with the love language stuff?
yeah, I mean, that horoscope stuff, and my thing to like, especially with the horoscope, is like, what sign are you? You tell me, because if you're
Right.
that in tune, like, and if I
If you
always say
know
like,
your stuff, right.
yeah, just tell them something else, and then they'll be like, oh, I knew it. No, you didn't, because I'm not that. I'm not gonna hold the lie, but it's like
Right.
you don't know, and that's
You
the
know the
point, and
difference
that's
is in that. Yeah.
right, and that's okay not to know, but then get to know me rather than trying to get to know the actual, date I was born.
Correct.
It's yeah, it's wild. And with the love language, my angle with that is like, are you literate in other languages, or are you just going to hear what you want to?
Right.
Because yeah, you can want something, but what if I can't speak that?
Right.
What if touch is something that has been traumatic to me or is very foreign to me? Is
Right.
that, is that something you're willing to teach somebody, or how are you building each other up when it comes to that sort of stuff? Or is it just always it has to come this way, and if not, then it's a deal breaker?
Correct. And that's what I'm saying. It's all a means to an end if that's what you're going to allow yourself to go through. So, and not only that, you limit yourself. If you claim to be this, that means you're tossing out all the other stuff. So if you tell a man you lead with that, then that means he's going to focus on just that. That means he's not responsible for the gifts aspect of things because you're into touch. He's not into quality
Right.
time because you're into touch. He's not into acts of service because your love language is touch. We are all the love languages. If your heart is right and you truly love that person, you're going to hit every last one of them, because try telling a woman who loves to touch that you're not getting her any gifts.
Right.
Ain't going to work.
Right.
Ain't going to work. So,
No, that's real. That's real. And if you gave your woman a massage because she was into touch, and you guys gave each other massages every night, it would get old at some point. She would want
exactly.
something else. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, or try giving her a massage on Valentine's Day or your anniversary or things like that.
Correct. I saw that Blackish episode where Andre and Rainbow were talking, and it was at the end of their relationship, as husband and wife after being married all these years. And she's like, "You don't even buy me flowers anymore." She's like, "I don't know how long it's been since you bought me flowers." And so he's like, "You don't know why I don't buy you flowers?" And so they went back in time when they were young. And he was like, I'm going to knock your socks off and get ready because it's going to be one of the best days ever. And he had bought her one rose. And she was like, this is it? Like she's not criticizing, but it was the joke to her. But it hurt his feelings so bad that he never bought her flowers again.
Yep.
And so that was a great episode. Blackish, that yeah, it was quite touching. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, and it goes to show that, the when people get to a point where they don't appreciate, and I don't know if that's because of what their parents instilled in them, they may have just been spoiled, to
Yeah,
some degree, or with the person before them that they're still comparing. It's unhealthy in either way, because if you're interested in the person in front of you, then those are your love languages that you're supposed to be speaking with that person, not speaking the last language with the other person, because that's no longer there. So one rose could have been all he could have afforded.
correct. Because they were young. They were young kids back then,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it was very leveled. There's more levels to it and layered to that episode. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So Anthony Anderson did well on that one.
So
So
what's been your biggest epiphany in dating overall? I know we've got a long history of it, but even if you just had to compartmentalize it in stages, what were some of your biggest epiphanies?
I mean, thank God for online dating. First of all, because it changed the world. Whereas on one hand, you're able to there's a level of rejection that you can get when you meet someone face to face if you're not honest about who you are up front,
Hmm.
granted. However, there's a lot less rejection than being on the street. If you go up to a woman in a grocery store and you try to even just say hello to her, and you get shot down. Whereas if she had the opportunity to know you because you guys talked, you guys did this, there's an opportunity for that. So epiphany, eye opener, just wow is just probably that for me. It was nothing really more ever beyond that, because I didn't really go out seeking women, you know what I'm
Well,
saying, in that sense.
and that caveat, you were married for many years, especially, and you married early.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that was 20 years. So yeah, I just never really been one to be on the prowl for the relationship out in public. I'm a very private person. So how
Rebel
about
and
yourself?
cause.
There you go. Keep it quiet.
So, so mine, yeah, mine is quite the opposite, like rebel and cause. And you don't want to say like bitches ain't ish and stuff like that. Like that's not what I'm getting at. But I learned really quickly that people have other interests and there's other people to express those interests with. So I found myself at a girl's house knocking on that door many a night where it was open for me before, and then the next night suddenly it's not open. I know you're home because your car's there, and you learn hard.
The
You learn
game,
hard.
the
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
Yeah,
and you can't be mad at it because I know dang well there was times that I was in a house where their door was being knocked on,
right.
and you just start to realize like, wow, this is shady business at times. So
Especially when you maintain such a longevity of being single, and then when you finally are ready, you realize society's not ready. The ladies aren't ready for you. You know what I'm
right,
saying? And
right.
that's where all the other superficial stuff that we talked about starts to come into play. You can't do anything about it. You just have to adapt to it, and hopefully you find that one, to where she makes a difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because even like red pill, blue pill, all of this manosphere, feminisms, things like that,
Right.
these are still pretty extreme levels that a lot of these people are talking on. They're talking more outside than, but once you start getting the masses to start, agreeing, and to your point, social media shows us everything we do and don't want to know or need to know in a lot of cases. So for every normal guy out there or normal girl who sees somebody acting extremely alpha or extremely hood or boss b or any of that stuff, it starts to warp our minds. It's worse than pornography in a lot of cases. And the
Yeah.
worst part about it is it feeds to everybody possible. There's going to be some people who don't subscribe to adult content. It goes
Right.
against their values, but you're still being warped in the head just as much by watching some of this content that people are putting out that's not of a sexual nature.
Yeah, because it depends. No, you're right, and the reason is because it hits that dopamine level in the
Hmm.
brain that sends pleasure or you know addiction, things like that. People are addicted to other people. People don't realize that. You can get so used to being around a person, you crave that person, you want that person, you're just addicted to that person.
Yeah.
And so if you're not careful, if you don't have the best intent with that person, or that person doesn't have the best intent to you, and you think you're going down the line that you're not going together, it's very dangerous. Very
Yeah.
dangerous. That's why a lot
Yeah.
of people end up getting murdered
Right.
and taken off the scene, because, I thought we were together. I thought
Right, and we act like it's just, like it doesn't have more to it, but oxytocin is a real thing. It's the pleasure chemical that even women get that from breastfeeding, which is why you bond with the baby. But you
right,
bond with it during intercourse. So to your point, this is where people get taken out because chemically you've created an addict. Now,
right,
now I have an addiction to you. Bonding chemical, absolutely, Fort
right,
Knox. Bonding. And so once you try to break somebody from an addiction, usually you get pushback. Is why you got people fighting, in Popeyes for chicken sandwiches because there's chemicals in that.
right.
And they
So
don't
look,
realize it, but that's no different than fiends fighting in the street.
and let's not talk about soul ties.
Right.
Those who are spiritual, they understand what soul ties are. And when a woman opens herself up unprotected to a man, she basically has had sex with every woman he's ever had sex with because it's now inside of her in
Yeah.
that sense. Not to get too graphic, but I mean, that's just biology, and how it works. But I think that that's one of my biggest problems as a young man not married. I can be in a relationship, but the minute I get kickback or think that the situation isn't going to work out, or there's something about a person that I know is not right, I will walk because I'm not going to sit there and go, there's just too many people out there, and you're eventually going to find that one. Right. So I never felt like, oh, poor is me. Oh my gosh, she left me, or we're fun. No, I'm gonna get you first, and it's not in a bad way. It's just that's how I'm made up. We moved around a lot. There was a
Right.
lot of detachment from friends. There was a lot of detachment in the military. The minute you get to moving on to something, I'm good. Just because it didn't work out doesn't mean I hate you, doesn't mean I don't want to be with you. It just means we're not compatible in that situation. Now,
Right.
we can be friends until I meet another relationship, then we got to cut that off because I'm not going to go into another relationship with a whole bunch of different women that now my new love has to deal with.
Correct, because now she's competing with the attention you're getting, which is where a lot of guys lose because they don't realize a lot of these women have it's the theory of the five boyfriends. It's like the actual boyfriend, the work boyfriend, the neighbor, the guy
Right.
in your DMs, or the ex-boyfriend. That's a
Correct.
lot of people you got to compete with who are pouring different levels of those dopamine hits you were talking about into them through
Right.
praise, and
If,
especially from
if
the
you
guys who haven't hit.
exactly, and if you can get a slick tongue guy who can talk his way into any and everything, he's already got you. He doesn't have to touch you. His
Yep.
words, if his words can penetrate,
Yep.
you ain't got to pull him down. He's
Right.
got you.
Right.
A man can talk himself into anything. So same thing with women. Women have that gift, boy. A woman will definitely sugar talk whoever she wants to get that money or whatever it is she wants out of them. She'll finesse them. So we have
Absolutely.
to be careful. That's the epiphany of dating today: is you got to be very careful who you're communicating with.
Yeah.
So no, go
Who's going to blink first? All right,
ahead. Right.
and you prey on the weak. The best predators out in nature do not go after the biggest, strongest. You go after the sick, the old, and the weak, and the
Weak.
and the
Right.
extremely young.
Right.
And basically, that's what you're taking down, which is where we have simps. This is
Right.
where where you get simps from because they're willing to pay money or pay at even more than money
It's,
is
they
attention.
will allow themselves to be disrespected for sake of whatever they're trying to gain from a woman. You can't do it.
No,
You
I
know,
agree.
I tell my daughters, you have to all the stuff that I want to see in a woman for myself. That's what I try to tell my daughters. As my son, I try to tell my sons that they need to maximize their opportunities in life so that they can provide for their women. You got to be the man.
Yeah,
And so again, if your girl quits her job, can you take care of her? And that those are hard pills to swallow, whether they're red or blue.
right.
But you got to step it up. You got to get yourself to that point to
Yeah,
where you can handle business.
yeah. So Fort Knox asked what our definition of a simp is. For some reason, it's not popping up on my phone, but I see it over here in the chat.
Yeah. Basically what I said, a man that's willing to lose himself and his self-respect to gain favor.
Yeah, yeah. No, I would agree. I would
Yeah,
agree.
like meaning that if you're going to allow a woman, you're going to go out, spend your money, you're going to take care of her, but yeah, you don't want to confront her when she's doing things wrong because you don't want to make her mad, but you're going to still no. You have to be able to stand firm on business at all times. That's part of being the nature of a man is you have to call out, you have to be strong, you have to point out, you have to be disciplined. And if you're doing all of those things, there's no reason that a woman should downplay you in any way.
Well, and the ability to walk away, like
Correct.
walk away like the feds are coming. Like
And
they're
that's
around
what
the
I
corner.
said, man. I'm gone. I'm gone.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
do it. If a relationship's not going in the direction that it should go, I'm good. I'm not going to sit there and put myself through a whole bunch of heartache and back-breaking work trying to prove myself when I already know who I am.
No, absolutely. And I think that that's really like when we first found Kevin, that was kind of what I went through with, Miss Ambition.
Right.
Now, I was already, kind of just like laying it out like this is what it is. But then there was a point where we split, didn't talk for like a month. And you know how that works. Like the shark will bite you, then come back, later after you've been mortally
Right.
wounded and bled out some. But by the time she came back in that time frame, Kevin came into the picture.
Right.
And
Taught
you remember,
what?
hey, you remember Rocky 3 after he lost, and then he went and trained with Apollo and the
Yeah.
Black Gin. They're running on the beach, and he came out with a whole different style for Clubber. And
Right.
when by the time she came back and was talking the same old noise, and then I'm talking not over her, but almost just through it and to it. I'm going to address it, but that changed the game. And these, the, her, the next have all reached out in the aftermath and basically apologized and said like you were that guy. Well, yeah, I knew that, but it's unfortunate that you were still
You
willing to
forget.
take attention from other people
Yeah.
or not think that I was that person because either my house is small or I'm not tall enough or whatever it is that you're looking for. So it's all
Right.
good, and I hope that there's a lot of guys through the red pill who haven't overdosed, if that if I'm using that term. So we've been
Yeah.
prescribed something, but don't overdose on it.
Right. No, I feel you.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely finding you. Uh, I don't see anything else from Fort Knox. I know that man's at work, and I know I've kept you for an hour.
Well, it's all good, brother. We can cut it and we'll do it again in a couple of weeks and come up with new topics.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Anything imparting?
No, man. Eat well, live well.
That's it, man. That's it. Um, yeah, I gotta get to the other
Yeah, you
channel. I'm
said
gonna
hit me on
do.
the next call next time.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Impact Athletics Association. I'm gonna go live here, and I'm on my 12th day of 100 push-ups a day.
Nice.
So I'm just doing 10 sets of 10. I'm not trying to blow myself out doing too much
Right.
because I'm still doing gym stuff on top of it. But I got a young guy in somewhere in the Middle East. I want to say, well, maybe not even Middle East, maybe Far East. I think it's like India or someplace. But he's been jumping in. He's doing the push-ups with his friends. So this is what we're talking about: being able to build people up, and it doesn't have to necessarily be prescribed through a pill or anything.
And it
It's
doesn't
just
cost money, you know.
exactly, and
Yeah.
just upholding one another and keeping each other, like you were saying, being able to tell each other in a way that is going to hold us to a standard
Right.
of growth and of excellence to say, look, this isn't because I hate you. If I hated you, I'd let you do it.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
love you enough to
And that's
tell you.
yeah, and that's the thing, man. We got to be able to take counsel. We have to
Yeah,
be able to take counsel. Any of my close friends, my boys, they know I'll tell them, yeah, you messing up, but I know that they'll tell me the same thing because I need to hear it at times, and because, hey, we're not immune to wilding out. Sometimes you got
right.
to take it back, but at the same time, we're always in each other's corner, rooting that person on. And if what that call needs to be made where things get bad, it's just a flight away, and that's the confidence that you can have with certain people in your path.
That's real. That's real. And you're that one,
So
brother.
I'll leave it on that note then.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother.
All right,
Love you.
man.
All
All
right,
right,
man.
man.
Later,
All right,
son.
guys. We're out, and I hope this finds everybody in your place. Pursuit of beginnings of total health, mind, body, and soul. What's the call out? Do you remember? I know you know.
Peace, love, unity, solidarity.
That's what's up, man. All right, man. I'll
Indeed.
see you
All
soon.
right, brother.
Much
Later.
love.